Hello YouTube, Siegfried Chu Lane here with another video. Today is going to be something a little different than usual. It's not actually going to be a game video today. Kind of an announcement paper video and some other things. So just a short announcement. I ordered me a new gaming laptop, so soon my videos will have a camera again. And so hopefully it'll be a little more interesting that way. And then second thing is if there anything you guys want me to stream, anything you guys are interested in, please remember to leave in the comments. So hopefully my video quality should improve at that point in time. I'll at least have a better, at least a camera, so, my reactions are better seen. But with that said, I wanted to make a video kind of an opinions piece. Just recently, I finished the book It by Stephen King. I'd seen the TV miniseries, I've seen chapter 1. As I live in Japan and chapter 2 is not out yet in Japan, it doesn't come out until November. I've not quite seen it, but I've just figured I wanted to kind of give my opinions on the book and whatnot, especially since it's such a, I've heard people talk about the book and talk about it so much, how great it is. Usually when I read a book and I watch the movie, the book is always better. I mean, Jurassic Park is a great example. If you've seen the movie but never read the book, I suggest read the book, or at least get the book on, an audio version of the book, because the story in the book is so different and so much better. Stephen King's It, it's kind of hard. I'll say that it felt like two different writers going through the book. One felt like a horror writer. It felt like a part horror book, and the other part felt like an erotic book. So it felt like you had like a horror writer and an erotic fiction writer in the same working together on the same book. What I mean by that is there's a lot of useless imagery that, to be perfectly honest, uses a lot of the male-female genitalia, and it's just kind of doesn't fit, feels quite strange, and I got pretty tough skin. I'm pretty open to a lot of things, but it got to the point where I was like, dude, it's slightly starting to offend me now. It really made reading the book really hard for me, and not only was it just weird, but it was the boringest part of the books. When you pick up the book It by Stephen King, you're not looking for an erotic novel. You're looking for a horror story. And a lot of people know about the whole teen orgy scene at the end that they have, but for me, other than that just being creepy and not sure why people aren't raising red flags with Stephen King on that crap. But more importantly, it was just random parts. It's a 1,000-page book, but I feel that if you removed almost all of the erotic scenes from the book would go down to probably about 700 pages. There has to be at least 300 pages full of just erotic BS, or anything that's is useless. A good point is when, for some reason, they build up Stanley's wife. Now, if, there's going to be spoilers in this video, so if you have not seen the first movie, if you don't know the whole story, have only seen It Chapter 1, but not seen the TV mini special, not read the book, or just completely unfamiliar with how the story goes after Chapter 1, please turn off this video now, as there will be spoilers. That is your spoiler warning. I'll go ahead and give you guys about 5 seconds, just so nothing spoiled for you. Alright, so if you start the story, you know that Stanley, in the beginning of chapter 2, or in the beginning of just in the beginning of the book, commits suicide. So you literally see his wife in the miniseries for maybe 2 minutes, and that's all you get to see her. In the book, he builds her up so much, it just brings up stuff that doesn't even matter, like a traumatic incident in her past, which, again, it doesn't matter. She's not a character in the book. She's not even a supporting character. She's just, she served no purpose in the, once Stanley's dead, there's no more purpose for her. She doesn't get mentioned ever again. And the frustrating part about that is the fact that that's a good example of when there's some bullcrap erotic stuff, literally there's one scene, one part in the book where she's talking about how whenever she hears something that brings up an incident to her past, something about her blood starts to boil and her nipples get hard. Now I'm not a girl, and I'm pretty sure all girls can, can confirm if I'm correct on this, but I'm pretty sure when you get angry, your nipples do not get hard. That's like saying when a guy gets angry, he gets hard. That's not how it happens. And that's a good point of just just random eroticness that had no point in there. And in all honesty, kind of really just, again, ruined the book for me. Because you'll get to a point where it's like, okay, the story's getting interesting, and again. Another good example is Beverly. Again, you know that Beverly ends up in an abusive relationship. And I'm pretty sure, again, any woman who's been in an abusive relationship, the last thing they think about when they get out of that relationship is screwing somebody. And that's literally what, not 24 hours of her leaving her, abusive Tom, the abusive husband, she's looking at wanting to screw some complete stranger. I mean, they completely made Bev do, it's just, her mindset is quite whorish. And I don't know why, she was written that way. So, I mean, that's like one thing, that's like a point, I don't enjoy it. The other thing is that I really hope is not in the movie, I really hope they don't add the movie, and that is, in the book, Bill and Beverly have sex after Bill's been married. And I don't really like that because it's like, okay, so now we're making our main character and we're throwing in an affair for no reason at all. Like, there was no reason at all for the affair. Number one, the person who ends up with Beverly is Ben. He's the one who loved Beverly forever. So why is Bill? Why was this affair scene thrown in the book, which drives me insane? The characters are much more unlikable in the book too. I find as kids, they're completely likable. I mean, I love the kids' fashions of it, but then there's just so much stupidity in the book. A lot of people, bashed on the miniseries for stupid things in the miniseries, but I gotta say, that miniseries, all the stupid stuff in the miniseries, that was pretty accurate to the book. For example, if you know about the killer clown and you see something happen to a character that's kind of an a-hole, why would you go and follow that character by yourself? And that's something, there's a scene where Beverly does it in the book. She, Patrick, because in the chapter 1, how he dies in the movie and how he dies in the book are completely different. But, he gets killed, it drags him off, and she goes to take a look at him. She goes and follows it. And then she goes, by herself, might I add. And then she comes back and, comes back with everybody else to do it. The clown not killing, there's never no explanation of why the clown doesn't just kill them either. I mean, the clown had multiple times to kill him in the movie, but in the book, it's so many more times. And he knows they're a threat to him. He knows it. But it never explains why he can't kill them. And that's always frustrating, because in an 1,000-page novel, that's something that I would like to know. Why can it not kill the children? What is stopping it from it? Because again, it doesn't scare Georgie before it kills Georgie. It doesn't spend forever scaring Patrick before it kills Patrick. Half the times it kills him when it attacks him. I mean, and that's one thing about the book I'll give it. The death scenes in the book are really, really well written and quite terrifying. Such as Eddie Kaspbrak? I think Eddie Kaspbrak. I don't think Eddie is there's another Eddie. And I think it's Eddie Kaspbrak was the side character, not the main Eddie, not the one whose mom has a mountain syndrome, whatever that's called. But Eddie Kaspbrak, I think it was Eddie Kaspbrak, ends up being decapitated in the book. And, that was really good. And then the descriptions of where, the bodies that they're found are really good descriptions. And that's one thing the book did very well. But they throw in so much of the erotic scenes as to why it can't kill the children. Case in point, it knows when things are around. When it kills Patrick, it would know Beverly is right there because she's not hidden very well. She's in a bush. And she immediately, after he drags her off, immediately follows it. And you know that it knows she's there. But it does not attack her when she's alone, and that's the curious thing. Why? Why does it not attack her? It goes through different aspects of trying to attack her and attack them, such as, influencing the adults, influencing her dad to pretty much try and rape her, which is, again, I don't think a necessary scene, but it's very obvious that's the attempt he's trying to do, as he tells her to take her pants off, and he can tell, and he's going to find out if she's a virgin or not. He's going to find out if she's complete. So it's pretty obvious what he's going for. And it's not like, we don't ever get a point from its point of view, because there is a part where you hear from its point of view, and it's talking to itself and explaining why it called back the Losers Club. But again, it never takes the time to explain why it can't kill the Losers Club. Now, it is very obvious to the book that the higher power, something stronger than it, is protecting the Losers Club, and it's not the turtle. The turtle does absolutely nothing. I'm so confused on the importance of the turtle, because all the turtle does is tell Bill, you gotta fight by yourself, and give Bill a hint. The turtle in no way in the book, from my understanding, helps him at all. I mean, it just tells him, you gotta do it by yourself. It's a being past them, which is supposed to be helping them, but it never explains it. It's never a point where you're like, okay, I know what's going on here, and it's not one of those things where it should be up to your imagination. We're not talking about a book that ends in, is this the reality, or is it still their fantasy? It's something where it should be cut and dry why. So I will say that a lot of the points in the book, it's just things happen and they don't explain why. The fact that it does not kill the children and never explains why it doesn't kill the children makes no sense. So I think that's my first gripe with the book, is the things in the movie that were strange are in the book strange, not to clarify. All the erotic scenes in the book, which have no place in the book, are annoying. I mean, there's a sex scene between Tom and Bev. There's a sex scene between Stan and his wife. There's a sex scene between Eddie and his obese wife, which is something we all want to imagine. I mean, like, if you've seen the movie and see how big she is in the movie, I'm not sure many people want to imagine that. There's a sex scene between Bill and his wife, a sex scene between Bill and Beverly. And that's about it. There's no sex scene between Ben and, and Richie. So, like, that's a lot of just ridiculous sex scenes for no reason. And again, they're quite long, and if you remove those, you would have more space to add in stuff that's important, such as, why is it unable to kill the children? One theory I heard is that the children shine. Well, do they shine? And I start to wonder what Stephen King knew when he went into this story. And it kind of brought up, like, I remember hearing back a long time ago a rumor that Stephen King was accused of stealing his, plagiarizing work from, I think, his students when he was a teacher. And I never thought much about it. I mean, it was like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. Because I just heard Stephen King's a great writer, and I figured, yeah, he's probably a good writer. I started thinking about it more and just the differences in his books. You have, like, some really good horror stories, and you got things like The Shawshank Redemption, and Stand By Me, which are completely different. And then, and I started thinking, I wonder if that was a true rumor. After reading the book, I feel that the original writer of the book was a horror writer, and that Stephen King is just this kind of pervert, added in his own things, and then tried to, pass the book off as his own. And my ideas behind this is, number one, again, the erotic scenes don't fit in this book at all. It feels like a completely different book put in this book. I mean, it'd be like playing a horror game, like playing Resident Evil or Silent Hill or Siren, and having multiple sex scenes just popping out of nowhere. Wouldn't make sense. And again, that it makes no sense. It does not fit in this book. And even the language of the writing feels different. If that makes sense. It feels like a completely different speaker. The imagery changes way too radical. Like at one point, the image you feel as it fits, and the other point, it feels again it's nothing but penises and scrotums and balls, and it's like, I mean, at that point again, it's like it feels like a completely different writer. The fact that there's so much information missing in the book, making it so much to skepticism, such as, again, why can't it kill the children? Do they shine? What is this connection? Not very clear. I almost wonder if he even knew why they couldn't kill him. If he read the story, thought it was really good, rewrote it as his own, and then didn't know why. Because not knowing why something is unable to kill something else, not ever having that revealed, kind of, it doesn't make sense. When it's had so many times to kill them and it hasn't, it doesn't make sense. And it's not a fear thing. It's not a fear thing. Point in case, they were all freaking terrified of it. They were terrified of it. And you're telling me that a killer clown can't chase Ben Hanscom when Ben is overweight and is able to be chased by the bullies, or can't chase Richie, who is even slower than Ben and is constantly getting caught by Henry and his group. Are you telling me that a 12-year-old bully is faster than a cosmic alien? Again, that doesn't. I mean, that's not a very scary villain. Then, I mean, if I just gotta outrun a 12-year-old and I'm safe, well, that's not very scary. So, I mean, that's the point I'm making. It's like there's these scenes here that don't make sense. And then the last one is really the ending. I mean, there are some really great parts of this book. The black spot's amazing. Every time it attacks one of the children is really good. Again, certain things don't make sense, such as when it's attacking Michael. Why does he just, change shape into something small and go after Mike? Why does he stay this big bird even though he can't get to him that way? It's just like... But all in all, it's a really good, it's 1 second, let me lower that. It's a really good, it's some really good scenes. The black spot, again, really good scene. The attacks are really good. I did like the confrontation to a point. I think I'll talk about the confrontation, kind of my gripes with that. But the scary things were pretty scary. The ending, I can, if you're gonna read, if you haven't read the book, this could be a spoiler if you plan to read the book. But if you're not planning to read the book and you haven't seen it, chapter 2, there's absolutely nothing here that's gonna be spoiled because it's completely different in the movie versus the book. The ritual of Chud in the book, I didn't really care for. I felt like the ending to It Chapter 1 was better. The reason because the ritual of Chud is pretty much the other 6 people in the Losers Club serve no purpose. It just comes down to Bill and It. They served no purpose in that last confrontation. Versus It Chapter 1, where they're pretty much there to support each other. So, for example, when the painting shows up on Stanley, the other 6 are there to support him. When it's the mummy on Ben, the 6 are there to support them. The leper and Bev's dad, they're there to support, thus making that final confrontation a really good confrontation, showing why they all were there together. I have not yet seen It Chapter 2 again. I've taken a look at some scenes from it, and from what I've seen, I actually I think it was done pretty well. I think, again, they made a good point of utilizing everyone. A point in the book I didn't like is the fact that, they removed 2 of the characters from the original Losers Club. I still don't know why they had Stanley commit suicide. I mean, the book, it said, it explains in the book, because what it doesn't tell you in the movies is that it was a she and there were eggs and there was egg sacs. So Stanley knew she was pregnant and he knew that there's going to be more of them. So, but it still didn't make, in the book, Stan was the one who started the pledge. So I don't like the fact that Stan committed suicide in the book. I felt like that was a cheap cop-out. Stan was actually a really good character in the book as a kid, and them just removing him, I felt was not a good decision. Removing Mike so quickly so that it was just the other 5, I didn't like that personally. I think the movie where it has the 6 of them going down together. Stan still commits suicide, of course, but the 6 of them and Mike joining them, I like that better. I think it's a better setup. But like, I didn't. In the second Ritual of Chute, I liked how it was more, they were more together. Well, I guess, okay. Well, okay, I guess that's not true. The book does quite kind of explain why they have to be together for that one, because there is the phases where because in the book there are multiple fights against it towards that final encounter, each one requiring one of them to kind of be able to compete with that it. So that was actually kind of, I guess that was pretty good and pretty nice about it. So it did somewhat fit it, but I guess the Ritual of Chute with just Bill was, again, I didn't like how in the end it came down to him in the last confrontation. I was glad that, Richie played a more of a stronger point in the second confrontation and was able to also compete against it in the Ritual of Chute, because Richie was my favorite character by far. But I will say the worst part of the book by far is the ending. The ending was absolutely horrible. And again, does not fit the book. Because, again, it ends in an erotic note. And I don't know why they did that. His wife being catatonic and trying to help her, okay, that was okay. But the very ending is like, dude, your wife gets out of, a catatonic state. The first thing you think of is not boning her. And that's literally the first thing he thinks of, is boning his wife as soon as she's out of that catatonic stage. Because talking about how she could feel this hard, rough cock. And it's like, you don't think about that. You're not like, my wife is finally out of this catatonic state, I want to screw her. And so again, it just felt like, that ending ruined the whole story. And that's literally the end of the book. Her awakening and him wanting to do her. And her feeling it. And it's like, these are points where I'm just like, well-written story, feels like 2 completely different writers, one really good writer, one perverted old man, trying to fit an erotic novel into a horror novel. I'm glad I read the book, because, again, there were a lot of good parts of the book, but it does, after reading it, honestly does make me feel stronger that the rumor of him plagiarizing or stealing from his students is a lot more likely now, because of just what I've seen and what I've read. So, I'm looking forward to It Chapter 2. I hope if any of you guys have seen it yet, I hope you really enjoyed it. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty scary. I have noticed a lot of changes they made with the story to make the story, I think, more frightful. And I'm looking forward to it. So, if you guys sat through this whole video, thank you for sitting through it. Again, my next set of videos should have a camera, so it should be a little better. With that said, thank you for watching and have a good day.